all the honeys in the Hyundai. For all my dreams, you know it's alright.
What's up YouTube? This is Sam from Mammals Gaming. I'm just going to talk about the ban list. So back in July, Konami announced that they would be making a ban list and releasing it for this month. So we should be having it shortly, but I just want to give my 2 cents on what I think should be on that list and how it should be, rather. Again, this is my opinion. I'm not entirely too sure what the meta holds for us, but I just want to give my 2 cents on what the meta is and what to expect. First and foremost, let's talk about the big elephant in the room, Snake Eyes, and anything having to do with Snake Eyes, really. So we have here a couple of things that people are talking about. We have Wanted, we have Snake Eye Oak, Flamberge, and Original. Now, first and foremost, let's talk about Snake Eye Ash. This is the Stratos of the deck. Mainly you'll use this to add Poplar, which can summon itself from hand. And that's the only way you're able to get your Snake Eye combo started, unless you draw either Wanted or Engraver, stuff like that. I think Snake Eye Ash could be at 1. Realistically though, I would prefer if they either put it at 2 or 3, because you hit the, let's say you put it to 1, right? You have 3 Bonfire, you have 3 Wanted, you still have infinite ways to get started. And so I'm not entirely sure that hitting Ash is really the root issue. What people talk about is banning Flamberge. Now, I think if you ban Flamberge, the deck's kind of dead. I for sure wouldn't play this deck without Flamberge, so I'm going to keep this at unlimited. Because honestly, you take away Flamberge and you take away the entire deck. There's no point in playing it. Same goes for Original Simple's Foils. This card is a bridge between a lot of other decks that have level 1 fires and Snake Eyes, and I think Konami is probably going to want to keep this. I know that this is a big extender and the search target off of Wanted, and which is why people either want to keep the Diabell Star package or they want to keep the original or the Snake Eyes package, right? You can't really have both because it's just hyper consistent. But I think keeping original to 3 or putting it to 1, it doesn't matter, it's played at 1, right? So it's either at 3 or 0. I think it should stay unbanned. Another one that people want to ban is Oak. I actually think this is a good one. This makes the deck a lot more fragile, because at the end of the day, your goal is to bring out Flamberge, and that's when your plays really start. Otherwise, you don't really have the IP into SP play, you don't have free bodies for Appaloosa, you don't have free bodies for Close Moon. And so I think if you ban Flamberge, if you ban Oak, it makes it so that the deck is very susceptible to an Imperm, it's very susceptible to a Ash Blossom at the right time, and it doesn't feel like you have to worry about Oak just coming up out of nowhere with this Original. It also takes away a target for Original, so it makes Original a lot less strong. Wanted, I think, can either go to 2 or 1 or banned. If it's banned though, it makes Diabell Star kind of useless, so that doesn't really make too much sense. Personally, I think putting it to 1 should be fine. Putting Snake Eye Ash and Wanted to 1 hurts the consistency of the deck a lot and makes it a lot more susceptible to hand traps, which is kind of the direction Konami's going. With that being said, let's talk about the 2 big ones that people are very, very upset about. 2 big ones that everyone think is going to get banned. Where's Appo? Right here. Nope, that's not Appo. 2 big ones are IP and Appaloosa. I think it's pretty obvious why people think these 2 are going to get banned. Obviously, they're very strong, but also because they got reprinted in Rarity Collection 2. We know that Borlo Savage and Baron both got banned once they got printed in Rarity Collection 1. And so these 2 just make sense to be banned. Personally, I think IP is fine. Obviously, IP into SP is very strong, but just IP by itself, not entirely too strong. And I think it creates for a very interesting line of play. The fact that IP can't use any link monsters also makes it very... You have to think about how you summon it, you have to plan your plays around it. I think it's a decently healthy card. It's strong. SP is a nightmare to deal with, but I think IP by itself, I don't think the game would be as fun without IP in the game. Appo, on the other hand, ban that shit. Just a generic negate that, or series of monster negates that just takes 2 or more monsters. No, I'm good on that. We can keep it banned, or we can ban it rather. Let's talk about some Floodgates. I want this banned so bad. I talked about it in the last video. This card is so unhealthy for the game. The card I'm talking about is Dimension Shifter, of course. I hate Lingering Effect Floodgates, man. I hate Spooky, I hate Protos, and I hate Calamities, I hate Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, I hate this. And this can go. I think there's a Gozen in here as well. It goes in. If it were up to me, guys, I would ban all of these. Realistically, though, I think these are probably gonna stay at 1. Anti-Spell will stay at 1. Skill Drain will probably go to 1. However, Protos, as much as I think it's stupid and should not have ever come off the list, I think it'll stay on the list. I don't think Konami's gonna hit it just yet. The only deck that realistically sums it out right now is Ritual Beasts. They did make it to the finals. That should also be there as well. However, I don't think they're going to do anything about it. Gimmick Puppet Nightmare as well, I think it'll stay unlimited. And Sanctifier should go. Now, that does make Branded a lot weaker, but regardless of getting rid of Gimmick Puppet or getting rid of Sanctifier, it makes it worse. In a realistic world, if Sanctifier was able to not summon anything but branded cards, it would be a lot healthier. However, Konami didn't print it that way, so here we are. Now, as for Spooky Dogwood, Spooky Dog was a tricky one because it wasn't good at all so recently, and I think it's still a very good option against Tenpai. However, the fact that people are using it just to pressure time rules, I don't think the game needs something like that. However, at the same time, Konami printed Lacrima, which burns you in time, and so maybe honestly, I think Spooky will probably stay. Do I want it banned? In a realistic world, I would want this card banned too, but I think realistically it'll stay unlimited. Calamities, ban that shit. Nobody ever wanted that. Let's talk about Runic real quick. The two big ones that I think Runic can use a hit on is Tip and Fountain. I think Fountain should always be at 1. I think 2 is a little too strong for it because there's just so many ways to search it, with Hugin being summonable by every single Runic card. I think Tip being at, or Fountain being at 1 makes it a lot fairer. It makes it so that 1 SP really hurts the deck. And in the same vein, I think Tip should also be at 1. Because the deck is just way too consistent. The way that this deck works is by drawing all the 1 of Floodgates, right? Or at least with Runic Stun. And you play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At least 5 in the main deck. All of these. If Tip is banned, or Tip can be banned honestly, but I think it'll probably stay at 1. For some reason, Runic is Konami's baby. I think it's because Joshua Schmidt works there. But Tip being at 1 I think is fair. I don't have much else to say. I think these two should both be at 1. And that also limits the user or the player of Runic Stun, or any Runic deck in particular, to not always hold some of their interaction for the opponent's turn if they want to set up their board. And moving on, next we have the new package that came out, and some of the supplementary cards that have been played in almost every single deck, and that's Fabled Lurie and Beatrice. Beatrice 100% should have been banned years ago. I don't know why they banned Curious, but they kept Beatrice. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. Lurie... Here's the thing. They just announced another set that's going to have some Fable cards, right? And I think Lurie is going to be pretty pivotal in that. With that being said, I think Lurie is going to stay. I know that Lurie is the tracked search target for every deck right now, and once the new Fiend Smith card comes out, I think Lurie being banned will be okay, but as of right now, the engine won't do anything without Lurie. And but Beatrice 100% should be banned. I think with Appaloosa and Beatrice both banned, the Fiend Smith engine will have a lot less. You'll have to go into like Caesar if you want any sort of interruption or protection. And that's about it. It makes the deck a lot, or the engine a lot worse. And it's just way too strong right now. The second best deck in the format right now, I think, is Tenpai. Consistently, you'll see this. Sangan summoning should be at 1. And the Tenpai support card, Prosperity, should be banned. I always thought Pot of Prosperity was way too strong. Just being able to excavate for 6 cards just makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't know why they did that at all. I would like this card to be banned. I think any generic card that boosts consistency to this extent shouldn't be in the game, especially when every deck is so consistent already and every deck is playing so much non-engine. like unsearchable non-engine. I don't think Pot Prosperity should have ever been in the game. Sengen Summoning, however, should be at 1. I think this card is very unhealthy and promotes some bullshit. Tenpai is already very strong, and I think Sengen Summoning is a big part of that. The issue is that there is no real way to search right now except Hydra. And I think most people don't want to use their search on Hydra or search for Sengen Summoning. They want to use it on Sengen Kaiman if they don't already have it in hand. And so if you put this to 1, it'll make it so that, well, if you don't use your Hydra to search this, that means you automatically have Sengen Kaiman in hand, right? It makes it so the deck's a lot easier to read, because right now there's so much non-engine that deck can run. There's so much engine that you have to watch out for. Oh, I actually missed Close Moon. I think Close Moon will probably end up being banned at one point or another, but at this time I think it'll probably stay unbanned. There hasn't been too many times where Close Moon just immediately sees a common from a set immediately sees a ban. I think Close Moon will probably stay. I think it's okay the way it is. Now the third best deck is probably Fiend Smith Yubel, and these two cards, Yama and Opening, are the ones that are being used for it. Yama's already mostly a 1-of, so I think putting it at 1 wouldn't really hurt Yubel that much, but it would kill Unchained. So personally, for the sake of Unchained, I think putting it at 2 is probably what's going to happen. And that's saying if you need this to be hit at all. Personally, I think Yubel Fiendsmith right now and the Unchained package is not that good. The deck is strong for sure, but it struggles going second, it bricks a lot, and even the Fiendsmith engine doesn't really fix that in my opinion. I think Spirit though can go to 1. I just said the deck bricks a lot, I know, and I wanted to brick more because when it does have no interruptions, it just goes off. You have Nightmare Pain, you have Opening, you have Nightmare Throne. Another case is like Tenpai, where you have to be, or sorry, not Tenpai, Snake Eyes, where you have to be very, very mindful of how you interact with the deck. I think if you put Opening to 1, it'll make the player play less aggressive and more conservatively, which I think is where Yubel shines. Right now, it's just like slap 10 monsters on the board, make a bunch of negates end board, and I think putting Opening to 1 will tone that down a little bit, especially if Snake Eyes is going to be hit. Now finally, we have 3 non-engine pieces over here that I think should be mentioned. Everyone always talks about Maxi in the room, so I'm gonna get this elephant out of the room. Maxi should stay banned forever and ever. This card has no place in a game like Yu-Gi-Oh! It really doesn't. It's just a total turn skip, or it's a lose condition. If you play into Maxi, you're most likely gonna lose. In the same vein, I think Crossout Designator is a little too strong right now. If it goes to 1, I think that would be good. Now, granted, this was probably a lot better and people were playing more of it before the Fiendsmith engine came out, but now that we have the Fiendsmith engine, we're not really playing Crossout, at least in a lot of decks I'm seeing. I personally did, because I think this card is just busted. But alright, let me rephrase. The fact that this card can also be extremely strong in the mirror match is, I think, what seals the deal for me. The fact that you can cross out a Snake Eye Ash when you already set up your board, it just feels like a maxi, doesn't it? And so I think Crossout should be at 1, but I'm not entirely too sure that Konami's actually going to hit it. I think it'll probably stay at 3, but if it does get hit, it'll be at 1. I don't think it'll be banned. 2 maybe, even. Like the opposite of what the OCG is doing. 2 cross out, 1 call by. That seems fair to me. Final thing I have on here is right here, Psyframe Gear Gamma. I think this should be back off the list. I think right now, if they don't ban Shifter, I want Gamma. If they don't ban, or because of the Molchomis as well, I think Gamma's very necessary. It also makes it so that they can't just shotgun Shifter and draw phase. If they want to play around Gamma, they can't just shotgun Shifter or Molchomi or Spooky in the draw phase. And it makes them more susceptible to cards like Talents. Please ban Shifter. I fucking hate that card. But this is my list. I'm not sure how you guys may feel about this. Feel free to discuss it and debate me in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. And see you next time.
Left on red said none of this shit would get easier. Best friend flirting with death, collect winnings from the last check.